You spent a little time in Texas this week. There's a pretty good football player that I think it's fair to say Notre Dame is trying to hold on to a commitment in Peyton Bowen. First off, every time I watch one of his highlight reels, Mike, I mean, he always seems to be making an explosive play. So, offer a little analysis, your chance to watch him up close and personal. What stood out to you?
I think they ended up. I left at halftime because Bowen came out of the game on that halftime, and I think it was like 42-7 or something. They ended up winning 56-7. So got back to the hotel and got a few hours of sleep before morning flight. But you know, he didn't really get challenged down the field a whole lot. But him as a punt returner is fantastic. Had it was around 65 to 70 yard punt return touchdown, and a couple of other nice punt returns as well. Darren, I mean, I've been to countless high school football games, and I saw something for the first time ever. So he was the punt returner and jukes a couple of guys out. I really thought he could have taken this to the house. A flag gets thrown, and he kind of he was maybe about 10 yards from the sideline, and he just kind of jogged and just ran out of bounds. I mean, how often is he saw the flag being thrown and he knew exactly what it was for. So he was just like, what's the point of running down the field? So he just jogged out of bounds. And kind of get into what I'm sure you'll ask me next. Marcus Freeman and Chris O'Leary were there as well. I was told that Freeman thought that was hysterical. And he said he's never seen that as well either. So that I thought was very interesting. But yeah, overall, Peyton Bowen, I mean, he's a 5-star prospect for good reason, Darren. I mean, he's the number 24 overall player in the country per the On3 consensus and the number 2 safety. And the only safety that's ranked above him is Caleb Downs, who I got to see the week before, who's committed to Alabama, was a big Notre Dame target. I think Caleb Downs might be the best pound-for-pound player in the country. And Peyton Bowen is, so it's not a bad guy to be behind in the rankings. Bowen is a 5-star bona fide stud. He can do it all. He did – so with Freeman and O'Leary in attendance, Darren, I think he was pressing a little bit. There was one ball that he had good coverage on. It was just a perfectly thrown pass, and Bowen got beat. And then, kind of pushed the kid out of bounds and then, drove him to the ground. That got called for a flag. There's a couple other times where he hit a kid out of bounds. I was like, ooh, that probably should have been flagged. And then when he scored on his punt return, he did a little celebrate. I don't even think he should have been flagged for it. Just kind of jumped into the end zone. He got flagged. I'm like, man, he was really trying to put on a show for Freeman and O'Leary, which I think there's something you could read into. Like, hey, if he wants to impress, those two guys, it might be a good sign for Notre Dame trying to keep him in the fold. Because I'm sure we'll talk about Darren. He's looking at A&M and Oklahoma. So yeah, it's still a battle there.
Yeah, Mike, let's go down the road. Just maybe for a fan that doesn't know the backstory, Peyton Bowen is committed to Notre Dame, but SEC schools are still trying to get him out of Notre Dame and bring him into their particular program. Update that, plus the importance of 2 Notre Dame coaches to be at that game during a bye week.
I'll first mention, of course, I wrote the article on Monday, the gold standard. So all of the Nuggets talked to so many different people when I was in Denton, Texas Friday to talk about his recruitment as well as Peyton himself. So I would definitely urge folks to sign up at blueandgold.com. The gist really remains, Darren, that I talked to this person. This person's very convinced that he's going to Notre Dame. Talk to this person. Very convinced it's Oklahoma. And I haven't talked to many people on the side, but I'm sure those people think he's destined to play for the Aggies. So there was a lot of good tidbits that I was able to pick up. But the gist remains that no one really knows. I mean, even folks close to him, don't seem to be very sure. I don't think Peyton by any stretch just made up his mind. So very important for Notre Dame to keep this young man locked in. And I don't know if you can believe this, Darren, but signing day is 2.5 months away. So still, that's 10 weeks to keep him committed. But so that's a long time, but also it's just right around the corner. So Notre Dame is to continue to battle. Understanding he's visiting for the Clemson Notre Dame game, that will be huge to get him back on campus.
Fact is, he has not closed all other avenues, means there is still the possibility. I've learned that from you. Never say never.
Darren, I'm sorry, I forgot your two-parter there. I'm not as good as some of these coaches in press conferences remembering the two-parters.
Oh,
The
yes,
impact
you are.
of Freeman, the impact of Freeman and O'Leary being there. I mean, look, it's still that bump rule where, they're not really allowed to talk or anything. So, it's not like those two were able to sit down at halftime or before the game and chat it up or anything like that. Freeman and O'Leary also left at halftime, and as much as I would have loved to go get wings and beers with those guys, they went back to South Bend, and I got Whataburger, which was fantastic, but that's a different discussion for a different day. It's really just it's an action speak louder than words thing. Like, you can tell a player how bad you want them, but to actually show up on that Friday night, Notre Dame could have been anywhere. Marcus Freeman could have been. How bad does Notre Dame need a 2023 quarterback? Freeman could have been seen some 2023 quarterback or anywhere else in the country, but he chose Peyton Bowen's game. So I think that kind of shows Peyton how bad that the Irish do want him.